Pink has always been my signature color from the time I was 5 years old. I wanted my grandmother to make me a pink dress. That's all I ever wanted to wear was pink. So I thought it was fitting that I had breast cancer because pink was my color. My name is Chastity Touchstone. I'm 30 years old. I'm married to Josh Touchstone. We've been married for 8 years. We have 2 beautiful daughters. Kaylee is 8 and Kinley is 4. We're both teachers at Mary G. Montgomery High School. I'm a special education teacher and he's a driver's ed teacher. And this was a very recent picture we took at my sister-in-law's wedding. In December of last year, my husband and I decided for our daughters for Christmas, we wanted to give them something very special. So we decided to take them to Disney World. Christmas morning they got up and opened a present with a big suitcase full of Disney stuff, and they were all confused. And we told them we're going to Disney World and we're leaving today. And we did. We left Christmas Day and went to Disney World. We spent a week down there and it was fun, it was crowded, but we had a good time spending just time together as a family. We never really get to sit down just us 4 together and spend a lot of time together. So I remember we drove home New Year's Eve. And for some reason this sticks in my mind. We must have been in Tallahassee because I remember seeing a sign, and at the moment I was thinking this, but I was thinking how wonderful of a time we just had, and the fact that we were driving home on New Year's Eve to go spend the evening with our family doing fireworks, and I was so optimistic about how 2013 was going to be, and it turned out much differently than I've ever expected it to be. One day I was driving home from work and I had a sharp pain in my left breast, and I remember exactly where it was. I remember just reaching over and grabbing it like, ouch, you know, and just blew it off like no big deal. Well, a few nights later, it may have been that night, I'm not 100% sure. I was laying on the couch and I just happened to be laying with my arm above my head, and that sharp pain came back, and I reached over and I grabbed it, and when I grabbed it this time, there was a lump. About the size of a nickel, I would say. I kind of blew it off a little bit and thought, well, it's the last day of my period. You know, it could be cysts, it could be menstrual issues, things like that. So I didn't think too much of it. I asked my husband, I said, feel this? And of course, as a man, he's like, sure, you know, reached in. And I was like, no, like, there's something there. And so he feels it, and he's like, yeah, that's never been there before. And so the next day I called my OBGYN and made an appointment, and I got in to meet with him, and he felt the lump, and while he was doing the exam, he felt another lump that I did not know was there. He says, well, it feels like cysts, but we're going to do a mammogram just to be sure. Well, it took me about 3 weeks to a month to get in for a mammogram, which bothered me a lot because I just thought, you know, being a lump there and the doctor saying go get a mammogram, I should have been able to get in quicker, but I didn't, and it was fine. But I got in for my mammogram, and that morning I called the nurse and I said, what's the procedure for finding out my results? I said, you know, I haven't made another doctor's appointment. I don't know how I'm going to get the results. Who's going to tell me? And she said, well, after you leave, they'll call you back and give you your results. And I was like, okay. She said, but if they think something's more serious, they'll do an ultrasound, and they may call the doctor in if it's even more than that. I was like, okay. So I go in for my mammogram, and I'm sitting there, and she does the mammogram, and then next thing I know, she says, well, we're going to go next door and do an ultrasound. Lump in my throat. Because I remembered earlier what that nurse had said about if they think there's anything else, they'll do an ultrasound. So I was like, okay. Well, we go next door to the ultrasound, and while I'm in there, she says, I'm going to go get the doctor to come look. That was a feeling that I never want to have again. Just of, oh my gosh, I can just remember what that nurse told me earlier, that it was something more serious. The doctor would come in, and here he comes. So he comes in and he takes a look, and he says, well, it doesn't necessarily look like cysts, but not cancer either. Cancer? Like, I didn't expect that word to come up that day. So we're just going to do a biopsy in a week, and we'll find out. I said, okay. So between that week of getting my mammogram, ultrasound, and having a biopsy, I did what we all do. When you have an ailment or when you have a sickness that you don't know what it is, what do? You Google it. And I promise you, if you have split ends and you Google it, WebMD is going to tell you you have cancer. If you have an ingrown toenail, it's going to be cancer on WebMD. So, bad idea, but good idea at the same time. Because as I Googled, I found more information about breast cancer. When I was still trying to tell myself, that's not what it is, that's not what it is. I'm going to be good. And between that week, I noticed that my breast around my nipple area had started to indent some. And I knew from what I had read, nothing said cyst will do that. It did say that cancer could do that. So I had a feeling that that was not a good thing. And so when I went in for my biopsy, the nurse, I remember her saying this, and I think that she said this to me to make me realize my life was about to change. And when I was laying on the table, she said, "Have you noticed this area is indenting?" I just said, "Yeah." I didn't ask questions. I didn't need to, because I knew what she was trying to tell me right then to get ready. And so they did the biopsy, which was not fun. Right after that, we did another mammogram just to make sure that where they had biopsied the areas was the right spot. When we did the other mammogram, there was a third spot that wasn't there a week before. Or maybe we just didn't notice it the week before. So that was kind of, scary for me to know, okay, there's another one, and we didn't know it was there. So that was Wednesday, February 27th that I had the biopsy. The next day was Thursday, February 28th. For some reason, my mom and my husband also knew that this was going to be something more than a cyst. It may have been God telling them, go with her, because I kept trying to convince myself that it was not going to be anything, and it'd be fine, y'all don't need to come. I didn't want them to come and them say, oh, it's just a cyst, and them have wasted their time coming, but they did anyway. The doctor sat me down, and Robbie was standing at the door, and she's asked me before if I hated her for this, but I should have known something was up when Robbie's standing at the door with all these breast cancer pins all over her, and bracelets, and she might as well have a big sign over her head that said, I'm the breast cancer lady. And, so he sits us down, and he tells us that I have breast cancer, and it was invasive ductal carcinoma, grade 3, which I didn't realize what that was for a while. They go from grade 1 to 4. This is just how rapidly the cells are growing, not the stage, and mine was grade 3 on a scale from 1 to 4, which meant that it was growing pretty rapidly. Ended up being stage 2 because my tumor was 6 centimeters. It had not spread to my lymph nodes, which was a blessing. It was great. That was a great day to find out that that was clear, that there was no lymph node involvement. My tumors were what they said at the 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 5 o'clock position. But they all connected together in some way, so they calculated it as 6 centimeters as one big tumor. So after that, that was on a Thursday. Between Friday and Monday, I had an MRI, a PET scan, an echocardiogram, blood work, another biopsy on that third spot, a genetics test. I met with my oncologist, the radiologist, the surgeon. It was just a whirlwind in 2 days, on a Friday and a Monday. Tuesday, I went in, had my port put in, and on Wednesday, March 6th, less than a week from being diagnosed with breast cancer, I started chemotherapy. I had 8 rounds of chemo. I can't remember the first 2. There were 2 together. They're really long words. I can't remember what they're called. It's Cytoxin and Adriamycin. All these ladies know. I had those 2 first, and then I had Taxotere my last 4 rounds. Some of the side effects I had were the day of my second treatment, my hair started falling out. That was probably when I found out I had breast cancer. Knowing that my hair was going to fall out was probably harder than anything was knowing that something I got up and did every single day. You get up, you get a shower, you wash your hair, you dry your hair, you fix your hair every day. And that was about to change for me. That was a part of me. That was something that, not because I thought my hair was beautiful and that it made me beautiful, but it was just a part of me. It's what I did every day. And I remember that morning getting up, and I was like, okay, I made it through one round, and nothing really has happened. I didn't feel real good. I was like a really bad case of the flu. But nothing else had really happened. I remember standing in my bathroom, and I just ran my fingers through it, and there's a picture on my slideshow in a minute of my hair. I took a picture of that first handful of hair, and I called my husband. I said, Josh, and he said, it'll be okay. He knew what I was saying. And so that was a tough day. But you know, after I pulled that hair out, and I cried for about 10 minutes, I was fine. I was okay. I said, okay, I'm not going to do this all the time, so we're going to cut this mess off, because I'm not going to watch it come out in handfuls. And that's what I did. I ended up cutting it very short, and that still didn't help. I was still wiping handfuls of hair, and so I just ended up letting him shave it off, which he thought was hilarious. After, another thing about the hair is, I didn't lose my eyelashes and my eyebrows until I did Taxotere, my last 4. So I thought I was good. I was like, oh my God, I still got my eyelashes and my eyebrows. And then when I did Taxotere, that disappeared. And one night, my husband and I went out on a date, and I remember wearing my wig, and I felt so beautiful and dressed up real nice and had my makeup on. And we get home, and we're just talking, and I'm taking everything off, and I put on my t-shirt that I sleep in, and I wiped my makeup off, and I just happened to walk by and look in the mirror, and I just stopped, because I saw again a cancer patient. I didn't see myself, and I felt so beautiful that day, and then I just saw this. It wasn't a person. I don't know what it was. It was death is what it looked like. No hair, no eyelashes, no eyebrows, no makeup, nothing. And that was very hard. I cried and cried and cried after that. I felt like I felt so good that day, and then all of a sudden it was taken away. And I posted that on my Facebook page, that incident. And one of the comments that I got back on that post that has stood out to me and has really stuck with me the whole time is a woman said, when you look in the mirror, don't look at your outer shell. She said, look into your own eyes and see the strength and the beauty within. And that's what I did from then on. Every time I would look in the mirror, I would just look into my own eyes and remind myself of how strong I was. I quit looking at the missing hair and things like that. I just looked at myself, my soul, and that helped a lot. After 4 treatments, I had a mammogram and an ultrasound, and just mammogram and ultrasound. Both of those came back clear. I was so excited. I was so pumped. Going, this is only 4 chemos and it's already gone. Great. So excited. After 8 treatments, I had a PET scan. Everything's clear. Everything's good. I'm good. It's gone. It's gone, you know. Well, I teetered back and forth between lumpectomy and mastectomy. Lumpectomy and mastectomy, I was never quite sure what I wanted to do. But then a friend of mine, Lisa, talked to me about what she was going to do, and lumpectomy first, see if there's anything left. If there's anything left, you'll have to have radiation. If it's clear, you can have a mastectomy and start with reconstruction. What I didn't want to do was have a mastectomy and radiation, because the reconstruction process with that is a lot more difficult. They have to take tissue from your stomach or your back to reconstruct the breast, and I just didn't want to go through that. As a mom of 2 young children, I knew the recovery time for that was just too much. It was too much time. I could not do that. So I decided to do the lumpectomy, and I was like, okay, and then I can do the mastectomy after, start the reconstruction process, and I'll be good. Well, remember, all my scans had come back clear. I had the lumpectomy. I went in 2 weeks later for my results, and Dr. Willett says, well, there was 2 millimeters left. I felt like I had just lost. I just lost the battle. I was like, I went through all of this chemo and pain, and everything came back clear. How is this happening? And the only thing I can think was that it was so small that they couldn't see it on all the scans. But needless to say, it was there. I was very upset. That was a very hard day. A couple of days later, I was talking with my father-in-law, and he said something that really struck me as true. Was he said, you know, God's not done with you yet. And I knew at that moment that that Facebook page I had made early on in this journey was for my benefit, to let my friends know what was going on, how things were going, instead of having all these phone calls. But it also touched many other lives that I never realized. I have, at this moment, over 5,000 friends on that one page, and how it got to that, I don't know. But every day somebody would message me or post a comment and tell me how inspirational I was, which to me is unheard of, because I'm just me. I'm not special. I don't do anything special. I just shared my journey, what I felt like, what I thought. And so when he said that, it hit me that I still have part of a journey to go that somebody out there needs to see. Somebody else needs to see my faith in God and my beliefs and what I know to be true, that God's going to pull me through this. So I knew that there was somebody else out there that needed to be reached. So after the lumpectomy, because there was something left, we decided to do radiation. I had 30 treatments of radiation, which was 6 weeks, 5 days a week. So it was 30 straight days of radiation other than the weekends. My last appointment with radiation, I sat in Dr. P's office and cried my eyes out. And it was so strange to me that I was so upset. I was like, why am I so upset? I don't understand why I'm so upset, because I'm done. And people all the time say, oh, I bet you're so glad to be done with that. But I'm not. Like, I was not happy. I felt like I had been broken up with. A relationship I had just been in with for 7 months is over. And the whole time I'm doing radiation and chemo and lumpectomy, I was being proactive and fighting this disease, and now all of a sudden, I'm done. There's nothing left. Am I sure it's gone? Am I sure I made the right choices? Are the doctors sure there's nothing there? So that played very heavily on my heart and in my head, and I stressed a lot about it. But, you know, I've prayed, and I believe 100% at the very moment that I found out I had cancer, God covered me. He did. And I felt His presence so many times during this journey when I would be laying in the bed, sick as a dog, in pain. All I'd have to do is pick up my phone and look at one comment on Facebook, and I could just feel His love and His presence there. That got me through it. My friends, my support helped me through it, but God really pulled through. I finished chemo on June 16th. That was a happy day. I was happy to be done with that. I was good with that. Had a lot of support. You can see some pictures I posted. My family, my in-laws, made this Team Touchstone shirt. You can see where that was when my hair was still falling out. Made me a Team Touchstone shirt. They ordered like 500 shirts, I think, to sell. They ended up selling about 900 shirts. Way more than we ever expected. It just grew out of proportion. And I just say it was because it was a cute shirt. Because I can walk by people in Walmart with that shirt on, and I'll stop, waiting on them to stop and talk to me, and they just keep on walking. And I'm like, they don't even know who I am. I got my shirt. You don't even know me, and that's fine. That's good. Thank you for the support. Even things like when I picked up a prescription one day, this was written on the bag. You know, it was just amazing the things that the people who were following and keeping up with me and praying for me. Some friends of mine from Grand Bay, they put on a golf tournament for me. That was wonderful. We had dinner plates done, bracelets made, flowers sent to me. People did dinner all the time. I think my husband would wish that I would have cancer again because we were fed constantly. We had more food than we could ever imagine. We would invite our friends over. Hey, come eat. We got plenty of food. And I don't cook, so that helped even more. My Facebook page really helped a lot. It helped other people, but nobody really understands how much it helped me on those days that I was struggling just to see one comment. It was amazing to me, God's timing, because it's like he would put it on people's heart to just say one thing to me. Because I would get on there every day, there'd be something somebody had said, and one comment meant the world to me. My aunt also had bought me some books for my daughters. Because people ask me all the time, how are they doing? And, my 4-year-old thought it was funny. Mom ain't got no hair. You know, she thought it was funny. And you'll see some pictures in a minute of what she thought was funny to do to my head. My oldest one, she struggled a little more than I ever really realized. She would never really talk about it, but she just went on her daily routine. You know, I never realized that it was affecting her as much as it did. She wouldn't wear my Team Touchstone shirt, and that was a sign to me real quick that something was going on with her, that she was upset. That I tried to get her put on one day in a hurry. She was like, no, I'm not wearing that shirt. And I was like, why not? I was getting so frustrated. She's just a teacher. And she says, because it makes me think of you dying and I don't want to wear it. I was like, I knew then that she was struggling. But my aunt had also bought me, my aunt that's sitting here today, bought me 2 books. One of them is Mom's Got Cancer, and the other one is You're My Best Medicine. And when I first got the books, I was like, look, Exana bought us these books to read, and she wouldn't have anything to do with it. She didn't want me to read to her. Now my 4-year-old wants me to read over and over and over, but my oldest didn't want anything to do with it. One night, I walked in the living room, and the books were sitting on the counter, and I thought, if I leave them here, maybe she'll open it. So I walked in, and she opened the book to the very back page. And I said, what are you doing? And she said, I just wanted to see how he lived it. And that was one of those moments that I knew that she was struggling with not being there. And there's been times when she's broke down and cried. It's like, I don't want to live with Daddy. Don't leave me. I was like, I don't want to live with Daddy either. So we have to. She's much better now. She has seen, when she watched this slideshow, to be honest, the pictures when you see it, when she watched that helped her a lot to see, because she sees me every day, so she never really sees how much my hair really has grown. She hasn't seen how much better I really do feel. But when she watched the slideshow and saw how sick I was and what I am now, she realized Mom is better. You know, so that has helped. Another thing I wanted to share was spring break this year. We went to Gulf Shores. And I was determined to have a good week. I was determined I was going to have a good week. I'm going to have chemo a couple of days earlier, so I'll have a good whole week. Because I would have 7 bad days and 7 good days after chemo. And so that's what I did. I did chemo a few days earlier. Well, that ended up being like my worst week. And I was miserable at the beach. I was so upset because my girls wanted me to go out and play in the sand and want to go swimming, and I just could not function. I just did not feel good. And one day I stayed up in the room while they all went down and were swimming, and I cried. I just cried because I wanted to go down and play with them so bad, but I couldn't. I just didn't feel like. Well, I finally mustered up the energy to go, and so I went downstairs, and I was sitting at a table watching them swim, and I got this Facebook message, and I'll read it to you. It says, "My princess warrior, I will not waste your pain, my beloved. I will use every tear you have cried to put a passion in your heart to do something great for my kingdom. You can find comfort in your darkest hour by praising me through the painful place you are in. You will not remain in this painful place for long. My love, soon you will see that through it all, I carved something in your character that will draw you and others closer to me. You are my precious princess, and I will shake the earth, if that's what it takes, to see the chains fall to the ground. Love your Lord, who feels your pain." I broke down and cried right there in the middle of the pool because that is exactly what I needed to hear. Like I said earlier, his timing is just amazing. I needed that message so bad to tell me it's okay, it's almost over. And that message got me through the rest of the week. It really did. Like I said earlier, praying and talking to God. And I didn't grow up going to church every Sunday. I didn't grow up going to church every Wednesday. I still don't go to church as much as I wish I could, or that I should. I'm not a perfect person. I'm not a perfect Christian. But I've come to understand what a real Christian is. You don't have to get up and go to church every Sunday. A Christian is your relationship with God. And my relationship with God has never been stronger. There were times that I could honestly feel Him there. When I would be in pain and just hurting so much, I just knew He was there. I'd go outside and I would lay a blanket down and just lay on the ground and look up at the sky and watch the wind blow through the trees. And there was one day that I did that, and I really just felt like everything I saw, I saw 2 butterflies fly by, and I thought that was my aunt and my grandpa watching me. I just knew that was them flying by to say, "You're okay. You're fine." I said I struggled with being finished, and I still do. I still worry, and I don't think that worry ever goes away. But I do know that God's in control, and He's got me wrapped. He took care of this long before it ever happened to me. And other people that I've sat in chemo with are angry and mad at God, like, why did He do this to me? And I never, ever asked that question, because I've known from the beginning that there was a purpose, and my purpose was to touch somebody else. If it was one person that I reached through a Facebook page, then I have fulfilled my purpose. If God took me tomorrow, I know that my purpose was filled. If one person was reached, if one person prayed to God, that was my purpose. And I'm okay with that. And I know that there's chances that it'll come back. Because I wasn't a complete response from chemo, my chances of it coming back are slightly higher than they would have been had it been completely gone. And that's okay. Because I fought it once and I can fight it again. Last Wednesday, I had my last appointment with my radiologist and my my oncologist. That was kind of you're done for 6 months. We're good. You're cancer free. And that was another great ringing that bell, I wish I could have just took it home. And I'm going to show you my slideshow. It is a little bit, it's about 7 minutes, but I felt the need to